The dream is real. Yeah. Can I get a standing ovation for the authentic voice of culture? We are Tkbs, and I'm by myself today. How's that vocal shit? Yeah, it's your lifestyle specialist, Kenny Burns. How was your weekend, Tkbs Nation? You good? I hope it was filled with love and celebration. We here at Tkbs want to thank all the biological and spiritual mothers out there for your tireless titles. And we know you have a lot of titles that you do not get credit for, and we love you. I'm talking about in a big way. You are the real MVPs. My weekend was amazing. Yeah, I joined my beautiful family in Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. Went up there to celebrate my lovely wife as she received her master's in social work from the Howard University. HU? I be saying that like I went there, and I did go there a lot growing up. And y'all who graduated in the 90s, y'all know me. Y'all know me well. And yeah, man, I'm just so proud of you, Jessica. You cease to amaze us. It was so great to be there and honor you as you received your MSW. So keep going, baby. We love you. And then listen, we had to keep the celebration going. We had a late lunch at L'Oreal Plaza, who the day before was raided by ICE, child. I cannot make this up. They actually did a sweep on a bunch of restaurants, and thankfully for us, they were not closed down because we had that legendary food, them legendary swirls. And if you never had a swirl, it's a frozen margarita, but they got something in that thing that make you drink a pitcher of it. Yeah, it was a lot of drunk vibes leaving up out of there. Okay, big shout out to that chicken burrito too with the rice and beans. It tastes like Jesus made it. Ooh. And then that night, y'all, what would a day of celebrating be without a night of celebration? That's right, we went to the world famous Park at 14th. Y'all are familiar with the world famous Park at 14th. For the last 18 years, we go to the Park at 14th, and we had a time. Yes, we did, y'all. Big shout out to my brother, DJ Quicksilver. He's alongside of me every time, and he's an amazing DJ. And if you're in Washington, D.C., and you want to celebrate, go to where he's at. And he's at the park on Fridays, but he's everywhere else every other day, and he always provides a great time. All right, now it's time to get into episode 135, making a way out of no way. Now, if you're black and you're from the ghetto, or if you're white from the ghetto, you know that you're gonna make a way out of no way. That's right, this episode was inspired by last Saturday's family trip to the Smithsonian African American Museum. That's right, me, Jess, my sons, my mom, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my sister. Shout out to Kai and crew, I love you. Remember they was on Kenny and Kyle's shoulder in the video, that's right. Our cousins, Tony and Tosh, and extended family wanted to be sure we go and see the museum before this deranged orange man tries to take everything out of it. I did not see the counters, by the way, Tiffany. I know you wanted me to report back to you. They took them counters out. Them counters, you know the counters? They took the counters out, y'all. They're not there. And we started in the basement, y'all. We started at the bottom floor of the museum where the storytelling began. And they go back to the 15th century. And it was 1400 and something. They were talking about Africa in a way that was so amazing. I'm talking about you could see the beauty in our tradition, the vibrance of our people, the intelligence in building their communities. And then the infiltration happened. Yeah, the Atlantic slave trade. And child, you know, you grow up in this world and you think about the Atlantic slave trade and what you were taught in school. And then you become an adult like myself, having traveled the world, seen it from Africa's perspective. And then to come back here and I'm seeing this again. It blew my mind that we were such a formidable people. And we had all of these resources and traditions and heritage. And then to let them come in and create this Atlantic slave trade. They came and sold our own people. I'm talking about when you think about the commodities back then, sugar was as valuable as gold. Rum, these are the things they were trading human beings for. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I'm sitting there and I'm just getting, just much like I am now, I'm getting like overwhelmed. It reminded me of today and how we seemingly still sell our souls for sweet treats. The pleasures in life, how these quick fixes or schemes literally are the things that are generationally setting us back. We constantly see them, but we do nothing about them. Just like this social media algorithm. Ladies and gentlemen, I woke up this morning, my sister sends me videos, Tiffany sends me videos, Jessica sent me a video that we're gonna talk about later today, but these videos, sometimes I watch them and then I'll go on my feed and they'll back to back bombard me with this ignorance. I mean, every day we see this level of ignorance and it's becoming normal. On last week's episode, we talked about how they're dumbing us down to the point that when America is no longer the America we grew up in, that it'll be normal. That walking down the street, somebody getting killed in your face, which has happened in the hood for generations, but this is gonna be a normal thing to show your visa to go to Texas or California. This is not gonna be a mind fuck. It'll be normal. And I'm looking at this, y'all, and it's sad that we are here in 2025, and the same ignorance and the same tricks are being played on us. The comfort with ignorance is still allowed. Think about the idea of devaluing human life again. Every time we leave our homes, cut on social media, we see something that is devaluing human life. People outside laying down with no shelter, that is devaluing human life. When you cut on these devices and you're seeing teenagers kill, teenagers spin the block, fight. I mean, they promote this like it's all right to digest. It's not. And then when you think about it, what was the Atlantic slave trade in the 15th century? How they sold their own, black folk, Africans, sold their own. There was no way they were gonna come into Africa and take anything without you letting them, without us letting them. And those same ideals of the Atlantic slave trade in the 15th century still reign through today in the 21st century. Think about our music. Think about these tariffs. Think about all the things that we're witnessing every single day in our communities. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm on that floor and I go up a couple levels and I'm literally just baffled again by our history. I'm baffled by how I constantly, am comparing it to today. And one of the comparisons was that I saw these young white boys. They clearly were on a field trip. And it was several of them with MAGA hats on in the Smithsonian African American Museum. And I saw it from afar at first. And I said, if I ever walk past these kids and I see their handlers, I'm going to say something. I felt in my spirit I had to say something. So I worked my way up and child, I had to go get the chicken. The fried chicken tastes like Jesus made it. I don't know if you heard it or not, but I'm here to tell you, if you go to the African Museum in Washington, D.C., you got to get that chicken. So it's cafeteria style too, and the food was actually really good. But I'm finished eating. I go up to the floor where they were celebrating music. I think they had showed like the 80s as I entered, before I got to the actual food area. So I saw PE and I saw the 80s and what that was starting to mean. But when I got upstairs, I saw like Chuck Berry's car was in there. They had this big thing for Sam Cooke. They had the Parliament Funkadelic spaceship. And I'm just in my feelings at that point. Like, damn, look at what we had to overcome to get here, right? And I love the museum because it takes you on those steps. It takes you on those journeys to righteousness, to, making us, not stay so dependent on what these people are offering us. Let's go take what we want. Let's go become who we were destined to be. And much like in the 15th century when I was downstairs, fashion was a big thing. The way we dressed, the music, the traditional dance, these were all part of our initial history and what drew them to our continent and what had them come take from us. Once they learned about resources and other things, it made it more, important for them to do this, but they were attracted to the same things that we're being still celebrated for. But I'm going somewhere with that and I want you to stay focused. But I want to tell you, I saw this group of kids coming down the escalator and I'm sitting down, I'm with my mother-in-law, I'm with Tosh and Tony, my cousins, and I was like, I gotta say something. I did not know what I wanted to say. I did not know how I was gonna say it, but I was gonna try and be respectful. I wanted to see the handler and just pull them aside, like, what makes you think this is okay? But none of them were in sight. And all of a sudden, why would you wear that dumbass hat in here? I know, it just came out. I didn't curse them out. I just was like, why are you wearing that dumbass hat in here? And the look on the little boy's face, now mind you, he ain't no little boy, 13, 15, they used to fight in wars. Hello, kiss my ass to whoever's on the bullshit. But I wanted him to feel the gravity of the decision he made. Now, mind you, I'm with 3 black women, starting in their 50s up to their 70s, and it's me saying that. And it was no disgruntled anything. And for the first time in that moment, I was like, they don't know what they're doing. I was like, they don't have an idea or a clue on how this MAGA hat is offensive to black people. And I don't care what anybody says. To me, the MAGA hat is equivalent to the white hood. You can say what you want, but it's playing out in front of your eyes. So if you want to sit here and act dumb or like this doesn't affect you or bother you, please shoot yourself in the pinky toe. But I wanted him to feel the weight of what we felt our entire lives. Fear from the police, fear from going outside and being our authentic selves and not be judged, or fear that there will be consequences for our actions. That was an everyday process for us. Am I lying? Every day we grew up in this United States of America, you were one step away from feeling some type of angst for what you were doing. And you weren't given much options. And yes, you grow up to realize some of those things were not right or not just or shouldn't have been done. But ladies and gentlemen, we didn't know. If you're taught something, just like these little boys by these handlers, by their host committee on their field trip, they should have been told that this was not appropriate, that there is a time and a place for everything. Now, hopefully, it made this young boy feel away. And not to necessarily be scared, but what the hat actually represented. Because his handlers didn't do that. They didn't give him the option to think about, will this offend people? The fuck? I mean, how could it not? But anyway, in that moment, I was a parent. I took myself out of what it made me feel like and thought about this child. And I hope that it inspired him in a way to, if you truly feel a way, be brave enough for what can come from that. And it might not be as gentle as I handled it. He might run into Day-Day and them, who was all around the mall that day praying on them damn little scooters, because you know they wasn't coming down there to sightsee. They lived in Southwest, just down the street, and they frustrated, they want to get somebody. And you never know what they're gonna do. I mean, we've all seen memes and videos of racist acts, black and white, and people act out how they feel. So I hope that this young man learned a lesson from that. I hope he went back and told the other young boys in his pack what happened to him so that they could think twice before purposefully offending someone or offending someone not even knowing. And I like that, Tiff. That felt good. I had to get that out, child. You know, sometimes you just be thinking about, do I want to share this? But I have to share this with y'all. This is important for us to not go forward allowing these things to happen in our presence. And we're going to get to that. And as the world turns with Kenny Burns today. And it didn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. No, along the way out the building, I saw some more triggering things. And one of the triggering things was the Spanish woman. She was with her family and she had a black MAGA hat on. Ladies and gentlemen, you know damn well, I mean, I am not trying to racial profile, but if I was ICE and I was racially profiling somebody that did not fit in the equation, it's her family. And they would have been the first to be picked up by ICE. I'm saying it how it is. And not only did I feel that way or my family standing there at the light, it was a white family standing right there talking about the same thing at the same time. I'm talking about they were literally just saying the same thing and the young kid was like, I know, right? They're not reading the room. They were in the thing too, with the MAGA hats on. I was like, I know, I saw them too. So it's not just me. It wasn't just us. It was everybody. And the gag was, y'all, about 100 feet in front of us, they had these stands. And all the stands had MAGA hats on them. I mean, but they had Washington. They had a whole bunch of stuff on it. And one in particular, my cousin Taj had to ask the lady, she was like, do you feel comfortable selling these hats? And the person immediately said,
I do not fuck with Trump. I didn't vote for him, but I'm trying to make some money.
And we were just like, God damn, the things we'll do for $1. No matter how this affects your people, no matter what it does to this democracy, I mean, every day they're showing you how they are trying to destroy everything you know. And I'm not just talking about black folk. And this lady said,
I'm trying to make some money.
And Tiff, when I tell you, that had me in my feelings, but I'm gonna tell you the thing that really threw me. We leave there, we're walking towards the hotel, beautiful day at the mall. So we wanted to take it all in. And I was trying to calm down, child, and look for a Joe and the juice. I need that tuna fish with that jalapeno, the peppers in a side bowl. Cause I was finna lose it. Jessica's trying to walk me off the ledge. When I tell y'all, I was in my feelings, and sure enough, child, it wasn't over. It was this white man and his 3 children walking fast. And I'm like, why are they walking fast? You know, like literally, like they're walking fast. And I look at the kids, they all got on hats, and I can't see with the hats stay on the front. I didn't know, but I could imagine. As soon as they turned around, they all had on MAGA hats. And I'm like, that's why they walking fast. But then it started beating in my head, y'all. This is a level of indoctrination that has to have practice. It has to have repetition. Them little kids now, the 13 to the 15-year-olds that had them on in the African American Museum, I believe they knew what was going on. That was just a fuck you to whoever saw it. That's in my heart of hearts, I believe. But then also too, I guess being a grown man saying something to a teenager, he didn't have nothing to come back with, but at the same time, if you really believe that, you know what I'm saying? Wouldn't you have been like, or go tell somebody? I'm going to find my handler if somebody approached me. And I didn't approach him, by the way. I was sitting down, he walked past, and I said what I said. It blurted out. It was Jesus, it wasn't me. He wanted me to say out loud this in that moment. But these little kids, y'all, his daddy was uncomfortable. That's why they were walking so fast. His daddy was uncomfortable walking outside. How are you putting something onto your children that you don't necessarily agree with? Because if I'm comfortable with something, I'm walking around like I got the biggest nuts on the planet.
Amen.
My chest is poked out. I'm proud. You wasn't proud of that, sir. And your kids are swinging on poles, taking off their hat, damn, they're throwing them in the street because it's a hat to them. They wasn't really with the MAGA movement, but you done branded your kids with this stigma, put them in harm's way. And I wanted to bring up harm's way for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. This is not going to fare well for people that don't really believe in it. Because as you continue to see the separation of church and state, and we about to get into the Pope in a minute in this comment section, but when you see the separation of race again being heavily promoted, you can't believe that people that don't really believe in the ideology are going to fare well. It's not possible. Because when it's time to pick up that microphone or pick up, I ain't gonna say it, y'all. I don't want the FBI running up in here. But when it's time to get active, they're not gonna be with it. And they're gonna be casualties of a war that you're putting on them. And I'm not talking about a physical war, y'all. I'm talking about this mind war that's been assaulting my community forever. But dear white people, you're in the same boat now. Oh yeah, the things meant to keep you in a certain class, you toothless meth heads are gonna vote because your patriarchal system calls you to do so. They don't care about you. You middle class white people that live amongst black people that can afford houses and cars and all the things that you can afford, you have to live with them. It just doesn't go away. So I want you to think about that before you try to indoctrinate your children, an innocent mind that goes to school with people that believe and practice the Muslim tradition or the Jewish tradition or the Buddhist tradition. These people leave you every day for the majority of their day and they're with others. Don't try to indoctrinate them into things that you know yourself will not sustain. Because they just might come home with that little black or brown boy or girl and change your whole motherfucking family algorithm. And I hope that actually, because I think it'll be a better world. And listen, as stewards of this next generation, for the next generation to succeed, prosper, and be what they're ultimately supposed to be, we have to decide right now what we want our kids to learn, what we want our kids to know, and what we want our kids to experience. It has everything to do with where they go get their education. It has everything where you move to next. It has everything to do with that. And you need to have that on the table front and center when making your decisions.
Message.
Any decision I've ever made in my life had to do with better education and a better life for my children. And if you're trying to act like the things that we're going through right now aren't that, I feel sorry for your family. And I'm just gonna go ahead and say it because we have to make real decisions right now. The truth is under attack daily. And I, for one, am not letting my kids live a lie. And yeah, I hope you feel that in your spirit. I wanna get into this next video that my wife sent me this morning. And it was from Dr. Umar. Now, I don't really get down with everything he has to say, but when he right, he right. Check this video out.
Ryan Coogler was trying to get us to understand is that our behavior as African people is either raising our frequency closer to the Creator or lowering our frequency closer to the spirits of evil, some call the devil. And some of us don't even realize that when we're having fun and enjoying ourselves, we're playing right into the hands of the devil. And in this movie, it shows you how when you are in pain, when you need to relax, when you're looking for some pleasure or some joy art, you start entertaining behaviors that lower your frequency. You want to go and do what when you're not feeling good? I want to go get something to drink. I want to go smoke. I want to go listen to some music. I want to go dance. And so in the nightclub art, this movie shows you how the behavior in the nightclub is not much different than the behavior of demonic forces during their rituals. In the black nightclub or any nightclub, what do you have? You have people lusting with each other, people dancing lustily with each other. You got people getting drunk. You got people getting high. You got people engaging in gossip and low frequency speech. And you got people listening to music that is not divine. Those same ingredients are what the devil uses to lure people into his trap and separate you from your soul.
I think you're onto something with that one, Dr. Umar. There's a couple things I want to break down here. The frequency. I don't think you understand the value of the frequency in which you live, the things you frequent, what you frequently consume, what you're frequently around. I'm going to speak to the club piece. And I know this for a fact because in my 40s, I went back to the club. I was leaving. Oh, hold on. I think it's time for some story time.
Story time.
Yeah, listen. It was 2005. Things weren't working out at Rockefeller Records. And I had did a deal with Damon Dash for Ryan Kinney, the clothing brand. And that really started to take off. Now, I say that it didn't work out at Rockefeller Records because I had so much amazing music that I couldn't put out. This was the beginning of the separation between Jay and Dame. But because I had this Ryan Kinney brand and we were changing the way people were dressing up, you know, hip hop had traditionally to that point had been wear big baggy clothes. We wanted to make it more sophisticated, so we created this amazing brand. And because things weren't going right, because there was a whole thing with me and Damon Dash with some money that he allegedly put up for Ryan Kinney, I was ready to leave New York. I moved back to Atlanta and I had my business, which was marketing and consulting. And I was doing consulting and marketing and branding for a bunch of businesses. But my friend Alex Gidwan was like, man, come back in the club with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll pay you to basically be on the mic and, you know, hype people up. Now, this had obviously been something I had been doing in the marketing world. You know, I created programs like Heineken Red Star Soul so I can be the host, along with Alloy Marketing and the team there. And, you know, I was like, cool, how much, right? I was making $750 a night hosting in clubs. This is at 37 years old. And to me, if I was going to be here and it was 4 times a week, that was $3,000 extra a week, right? And that would add on to what I did in my other business ventures. And I feel like when I did that, I noticed something in Atlanta culture that clearly, having lived in New York and in LA prior to that, like I wasn't used to. And my supreme energy and light wasn't gonna dumb it down. Like I didn't want to dumb down the moment. I wanted to make these huge, big celebratory moments. And around that time, the bottle service was coming into play. And I was seeing another business opportunity. And I must say, in hindsight, that was the last era of the feel-good party moments. That was the last era where you actually cared about how you looked, or you were even made to be a certain way, or you couldn't participate. We had rules, we had regulations. There were things you just couldn't do. But I wanted to bring that little mini story up, and I've told versions of that before. But I wanted to tell that piece because right now, and to Dr. Umar's point, the lusting, the overindulging, the plotting, the scheming, all the things that go on in clubs now is not conducive for a good time.
Amen. Amen.
And that's why we always talk. If I'm telling Tiff about something I witnessed, these people are numb. They're not even there in the spiritual sense. Physically, they're there. Physically, they're going through the routine, but they're not spiritually being lifted. And I wanted to play that clip for you to share with, you know, the people in your villages and your communities, because I have to agree with Dr. Umar. It's not many times I agree wholly with what he's saying. He be having pieces. He gets so black sometimes. I be like, wait, hold on, player. There's other people in the world that exist. And I know what they've done, but we have to be inclusive if we want the world to be a better place. This is my opinion. But I want to know how y'all feel about that, because I'm seeing a time where the music, and I guess I'll wrap that up before we get into live from the comment section, was saying that if you're noticing that the music, right, is the main reason these kids are turning into crash dummies and making the decisions they're making, then we need to do something about it. That's all of you industry executives that continue to sign it. It's not sustainable for our children. Number 2, if you are a club owner, you are a promoter, you have something to do with a good time, you need to do something about the good time. You know, even if you don't smoke hookah, it's in the air, right? You know the studies that are coming out about vaping and hookah, right? Do something about it. We can no longer stand by, and we'll talk about it more in As the World Turns with Kenny Burns. We can no longer stand by and just be complicit. The world as you know it will end if you don't. All right, Tiff, it's time for Live from the Comments section. Tiffany, I know you have some comments over there, my love.
Yes, sir, we do. Of course, you know everybody went crazy last week over the entire episode. You guys killed it, but a shot of Brandy wanted to weigh in extra heavy on your As the World Turns last week. She said that your whole sermon was giving Pastor Burns.
Amen.
Amen. She said, I was waiting for you to say, I ain't gonna keep y'all. That's how we know our pastor was getting ready to go to the bridge. That's the good part.
I went to the bridge, huh? And yes, Brandy, thank you, child. I'm trying to tap into all of my superpowers, and I think it's leaning Pastor Burns. I don't know if it's going to stay Pastor Burns, but in my spirit, I don't feel in control no more. I feel like God just be pushing me to do things. I really, truly mean that. Like, I feel like I'm being pushed to do things that are uncomfortable from what I traditionally know to be true, but soiling me more in the truth than where I need to be. Yeah, I felt that in my spirit. Tiff, I know we got some more comments, baby.
Yes, sir, we do. And keeping in theme with the last episode and a lot of the, stuff coming from the Pope of Mar-a-Lago, a.k.a. Pope of shit.
Pope of Mar-a-Lago the first. I said Mar-a-Lago the first.
And they loved it. Matter of fact, A1 Jim Drip said, we're in some messed up times. We need to stay prayed up.
Yeah, speaking of the Pope, did you see the recent comments from the MAGA world about the Pope being woke because he's from the States and has Creole background? I mean, y'all gotta start calling a spade, y'all. You just can't let it. If it's in your presence, you gotta speak up. No matter who's uncomfortable, 9 times out of 10, it's not gonna get to no fisticuffs or no real insecurity because them people can't explain this shit. This is not explainable. The actions of these people are not explainable. Even Laura Loomer, what's her name? She just came out and spoke against Trump. It's just certain things, and she said she'll take a bullet for him in the same sentence. It don't make sense, Laura. It just don't make sense. So y'all, don't get frustrated. Say something. Say something. And I guarantee you though, if you do have a little vibrato in your conversation like Tiffany, then they might not even respond. I don't suggest you have Tiffany's vibrato because only she could pull it off. But you did what I'm saying. Tiff, do we have any more comments?
Yes, sir, we do. And of course, we got to throw a little love in here because it gets heavy sometime. This is in response to you and Kendra's banter about the church when you was getting ready to kick off the episode. Nat Funk said, Kendra says face when KB says she ain't from the church with laughing emojis. Tap into the Kenny Burns Show to hear her response. This episode has many gems that were dropped.
Yeah, listen, and you know what? I want to keep having, and obviously Kendra and I have a great time in our banter, but we do have to be a certain way if we want to call ourselves Christian. We do have to be a certain way, and I'm not saying you're not, Kendra, at all. I'm not saying not at all. But I am saying, though, we get caught up in like YOLO. YOLO's not a real thing. I'm talking about the actions in which people are taking to you only live once. Dig what I'm saying? Like, yes, you only live once, but you're not supposed to go broke trying to live your best life. You're not supposed to catch diseases or have children on the side or disrespect your union to the point where that's all you do. Like, you can't live that life and expect to be full. I'm sorry. If a motherfucker, just, and no disrespect to people who got kids out of wedlock, no disrespect to, you know what I'm saying, you're still human and you still have value. But if we call ourselves these things, we gotta live it. I am guilty of it too, y'all. Like, I'm not perfect. But as I get older and I learn more and I know better, I apply it to my life. What are we doing? Are we here to not apply it to our lives? This is what makes life worth living. Understanding. See, y'all, I'm about to start preaching. Brandy, I'm about to start preaching that for. In 52, I can tell you something about 52 years. If you're not willing to listen to that experience, and I come from the shits. If there was an actual place of dysfunction, we're gonna call it the shits. I've been from and with the shits the majority of my life, but now I understand the value of life. And it's understanding, accepting my journey and growing from the dysfunction. And I've had to, and I still do, y'all. I still do put people in boxes so that I can be mentally sane. But you gotta do that so you can grow and understand your why.
Amen.
See if we got any other comments.
Yes, sir, we do. And staying with the same clip, Lala Baby said, I couldn't wait until it would come back and bite them in the butt, SMH. They wanted him, now they got him. I'm gonna let them figure out what to do with them.
Hey, child. I don't know what just happened, but Lala, I love your face. And thank you for your comment. And now it's time for As the World Turns with Kenny Burns. Take a picture and remember you heard this in this moment. That's right. From here on out, people who are in the wrong must be made to feel the weight of their actions in that exact moment they occur. No more letting it go. No more letting it linger or turn into frustration. That's right. Get it out of your system. Say something. Do something. It starts in your home with your families, at work with your colleagues, and definitely in your communities. And I'm not saying becoming a crash dummy. And that's for the educated and those who don't want to be. You can never meet chaos with chaos. We have to be way more thoughtful and strategic, people. This message is about solving the problem before it starts, before it blooms, or becomes something we cannot control. I know it feels like we don't have the power at times, but that's far from the truth. And right now, more than ever, we need to believe that. We are here, ladies and gentlemen, and there's no turning back. Power to the people.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. Felt that in my spirit. I hope you did too. We love you in real life. Be sure to like, share, and comment. Tell everybody you know about the Kenny Burns Show. All right. Kendra, you ain't here, but I think we got you on tape. Get us up out of here.
The dream is real.
The dream is real.